What's up guys, it's CG. So this is going to be a thorough review of Vibrato by the House of Sospiro. First I'm going to give you guys a rundown so you have a general idea what the fragrance is about. Then I'm going to share how users rated the scent profile and the performance. My wife and I are going to share our impressions of it. And finally I'm going to share my overall opinion having worn it. Without further ado, let's get this started. So if I were to classify Sospiro Vibrato, I would say it's a classy, fresh, citrus floral fragrance. Very grapefruit, very ginger focused, very unique. And in that line of L'Immensité, Tiger, Burlington 1819, if you smelt any of those, you kind of have an idea on where this is headed. The note breakdown on Sospiro's website is it's a complex fragrance. Out of 274 votes, it received an average rating of an 8.7. This is a really high score relative to everything else I've seen on their website. 83% of users gave it an 8 or above, indicating that they enjoy the fragrance. And more than half of people gave it a 9 or a 10. If I were to rate the scent personally, I would give it an absolute 10. I believe it's amazing. For longevity, it got an average rating of an 8.2. Most users gave it an 8 or above. Very few people are unhappy with the longevity of this fragrance, and I would give it personally a 10 just because it's a summer reach that I know is going to last the entire workday. For sillage, it got an average rating of an 8, and the key vote here is actually 8. Half of users gave it an 8, which is a decently high score. I personally would also give it a 10 on this because my coworkers let me know that it projects a lot and it's a 10, even though I go kind of nose blind to it after a while. So this is a triple 10 fragrance and the first on this channel that I would give a 10 on all markers. To describe the scent profile to you, I mean, it's definitely a citrus. It is my favorite citrus of all time now, but it's a very classy citrus. And what makes it classy is the ginger. And it also makes it a bit more mature. So you have the ginger, you have the grapefruit that's making it a bright citrus, and you have a bit of ambroxan and kind of like a powdery freshness to it. The way that the ginger makes this mature is the same way that I would say ginger ale is a more mature soda than Fanta. I mean, I feel kind of silly comparing fragrances to sodas, but if you can imagine that, like just how you would say that soda is a spectrum, and you have your Fanta is your most young and juvenile, then you maybe have your middle ground with things like Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper, then you have ginger ale, which would be more mature, more classy. This kind of is classy in that same way, like that almost ginger is just a classy note, and when it combines with that grapefruit, if you can imagine just smelling the fizz off of a ginger ale with like a grapefruit sharp freshness coming in, and just all that turned into a cologne with like an ambroxan and a powderiness. That's the best way in layman's terms that I could describe the scent profile of Vibrato. For me, it's a modern classic. Like, it just smells so meant to be. It smells so classy. I mean, I feel like it fits that kind of like green Irish tweed, gentle fluidity, silver, classy vibe. But because it's a citrus, it's something else. Like, I'm kind of in this phase in the summer where I'm just sick of citrus scents, man. I'm tired of it. And citrus fragrances don't tend to be mature or classy, for me at least. They're more fun in the sun, but this one just takes it to that level where it's just so refined and so regal. It almost has like a royalty smell to me, and a sharpness, like where something is so well blended that all the aspects of it come together at almost a sharp point. And that's like something I've only gotten with niche high-grade fragrances, and something that this definitely has. I mean, I feel like I smell it, and it's one of those ones that I just close my eyes and I'm like, this is just hitting just right on all levels. I've worn this quite a bit this summer, and I would say it is one of my most complimented fragrances. I work with the public, and I get compliments here and there, but there's really only 3 standout fragrances: Aventus, Naxos, and now Vibrato. As far as getting unsolicited compliments from strangers, this is just up there. And as far as the performance, I go nose blind to it pretty quick. I don't feel like it's really pushing out, but my coworkers and the compliments I've received let me know that this is a 10 on performance, but there is a tendency to become nose blind to this scent. I have the same issue with Creed Aventus. And Sospiro is actually a sister company of Xerjoff, so you know the quality is good. Xerjoff is one of the few brands where I just know the quality is going to be good for sure. With other brands, it depends on the release, or there's reformulations, or this, that, and the other. But with Xerjoff, they tend to hit on all cylinders when it comes to having high-grade ingredients and high-grade blending. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of Tigar, so when I got to this, I was like, dang, another of that DNA, I'm probably just not going to like it. But there are differences, and the differences are enough to make this a different thing for me, at least. And some people prefer Tigar, and some people prefer Vibrato, some like Burlington 1819. We each have our own taste. So just because you don't like one or you don't like two as much, don't be afraid to try all three. And I definitely would try all three before really investing in one, because the subtle differences really set them apart almost. So if I were to compare this to Tigar, I would say Tigar is more handsome, it's more refined, it's more smooth. And I would say Vibrato for me is more elegant, it's more bright, it's more sharp, and it's more regal. It's more like a royalty smell. Whereas Tigar is like a smooth, more masculine fragrance. And really, they're both just as good. It's just your taste. It's apples versus oranges here. The thing that I didn't like about Tigar is people will say that there's a booziness to it. And I'm like, booziness? Like, what are you talking about? I get like zero booze with Tigar. But I realize what they're talking about and calling booziness, I call shower gel. I get almost like a shower gel vibe from Tigar mixed with a bit more Ambroxan that makes me feel like it's a bit more generic. And that's just how my nose connects the memory. I mean, it's interesting. If I were to think booziness, that's like a positive trait. So I wish I made that connection, but unfortunately I connect it more to like shower gel. This one's more bright, more sharp, more fresh, and the powder is really more of a supporting role. I don't think of it as a super powdery fragrance, but that powder with that grapefruit, with the ginger, it just turns this into a 10, where I'd give Tigar something like an 8.
First, the bottle is super beautiful. It's green and it's velvety, and it just looks so beautiful in your room. Anybody that comes to your room is gonna see it and be like, ooh, what's that? Okay, anyways, let's talk about the scent. Fabulous. It's a sweet fragrance. And I don't know how to describe the notes. How would you?
It's grapefruit, ginger, it's powder, and it's woods. It's mostly grapefruit and ginger and powder.
Well, okay, so what I get from it is a lot of that powder, of that powdery base of the fragrance. And citrus. Could be grapefruit. The ginger in it is fantastic. Now, in terms of, you know, who can pull it off in terms of age, again, you can be 25 or 80 and it's going to work, because the fragrance is so good, and it's not necessarily like screams young or screams mature, not necessarily. Whether all year round, you can, it's not too strong that in the heat it'll become a mess. It's good. This is a 10. You know, yes, it's a 10.
So my overall opinion of Vibrato is it's a 10 fragrance. I bought a full bottle of it. I don't really buy many bottles. I don't want to have one of those crazy collections you see in the background. Like, that looks like just a dose of anxiety to me. So I only keep things that I truly plan on finishing and wearing throughout the entirety. And Vibrato is definitely one of them, and it's my favorite citrus scent that I've ever tried. And I've been using it a ton this summer and just not getting bored of it. Vibrato and Imagination have been my go-tos this summer. So curious what y'all's opinions are. Feel free to leave them in the comments. Subscribe for future content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.